Hey guys! What's up? Alpha Lion Simba here, and welcome to part 2 of my worst cases of man-eating in big cats. In the last part, I talked about the worst cases of man-eating lions, but when it comes to man-eating in big cats, the first species that comes to most people's minds is tigers. And tonight I'm covering the worst cases of man-eating in tigers. So, let's earn our stripes. Now, without a doubt, tigers are among the most efficient predators in the world, equipped with stripes that make the perfect camouflage, as well as razor-sharp claws and 3-inch long saber-like teeth. They are perfectly designed for bringing down large prey, but for the most part, they prefer to eat deer or wild cattle, such as water buffalo. For the most part, tigers try to avoid humans, and for good reason, given that we hunted them to near extinction. However, a tiger does have potential to become a man-eater. But like with other big cats, man-eating tigers are usually tigers that became too sick, weak, or old to catch their natural prey. We'll start with the most infamous man-eating tiger of all, the Tigress of Champawat. Now at first, she lived the life of a normal tiger hunting its natural prey. But it became a man-eater after a botched poaching attempt. The poacher aimed poorly and instead shot her in the jaw. The failed shot from the poacher broke her canine teeth. Later examination showed that the shot broke the upper one in half and the lower one right down to the bone. This permanent injury had prevented her from killing her natural prey, which began the Champawat Tigress's reign of terror. She started her reign of terror in Nepal, where she purportedly killed some 200 men and women before being driven out of Nepal. She then moved to the Champawat district in the state of Uttarakhand in northern India and continued to kill. She was known to enter villages even during daylight, roaring and causing people to flee in panic to their huts. By this time, she had killed a total of 463 people. She was finally tracked down and killed in 1907 by legendary hunter, tiger conservationist, and author Jim Corbett. He tracked her by following the trail of blood the tigress left behind after killing her last victim, a 16-year-old girl. And given that she killed up to 463 people, the Champawat Tigress is by far the most infamous man-eating tiger. Next is the Tiger of Segur, a young male who killed 5 people in the Nilgiri hills of Tamil Nadu in South India. Though originating in the district of Malabar District and the Wayan District below the southwest face of the Blue Mountains, the tiger later shifted its hunting grounds to Gudalur between the Segur Plateau and Anaikadi in the Coimbatore District. It was killed by Kenneth Anderson on the banks of the Segur River in 1954. Anderson later wrote that the tiger had a disability preventing it from hunting its natural prey. Up next are the Tigers of Chowgarh, a pair of man-eating tigers consisting of an old tigress and her subadult cub, which for over a 5-year period killed a reported 64 people in Eastern Kumaon division of Uttarakhand in northern India, over an area spanning 1,500 square miles. The figures, however, are uncertain, as the natives of the areas the tigers frequented claimed double that number and they do not take into account victims who survived direct attacks but died subsequently. Both tigers were killed by Jim Corbett. Up next is the Thak Man-Eater, a tigress from Eastern Kamau Division who only killed 4 human victims but was the last hunt of Jim Corbett. From the first day of hunting her, Corbett realized that the tigress was hunting him and his men. Corbett was finding her pug marks following him wherever he went, so he had to be extremely careful not to become a victim. Apart from villagers, the tigress terrorized a 5,000-strong workforce who were working nearby Kumaya Chak, where thousands of trees were being felled. On one occasion, the tigress came close to a building where the workers were stationed, and workers started shouting at her to drive her away. But instead, very unnatural for tigers, who usually avoid groups of shouting humans, this shouting infuriated the tigress, and she came closer with her roaring, cowed thousands of workers into silence. Corbett killed her during late twilight after he lost all other means to track her down. Post-mortem revealed that this tigress had 2 old gunshot wounds, one of which had become septic. This, according to Corbett, forced her to turn from a normal predator hunting natural prey to a man-eater. This was the last man-eating tiger killed by Corbett, ending his 32 years career of hunting man-eating tigers and leopards. Corbett was 63 at the time. After just days of this hunt, Corbett started a major project of filming the tigers in their natural environment, with a newly available at the time cinema camera. 2 years before this hunt, in 1936, with a major contribution from Jim Corbett, the first national park in India, known as Corbett National Park, was established. Up next is the tiger of Mundachipallam. Try saying that fast 3 times. He was a male tiger which in the 1950s killed 7 people in the vicinity of the village of Penagram, 4 miles from the Hoganakal Falls in the Dharmapuri district of Tamil Nadu. Unlike many of the tigers in this video, the Mundachipallam tiger had no known infirmities that prevented it from hunting its natural prey. Its first 3 victims were killed in unprovoked attacks, while the subsequent victims were devoured. The tiger was later killed by Kenneth Anderson. Up next is the Man-Eater of Bhimashankar, a story discovered by Pune-based author Shuashandra Wargade when he ran into an old villager in the Bhimashankar forest, which lies near Pune. The villager explained to the author how a man-eating tiger terrorized the entire area during a span of 2 years in the 1940s. He was a police constable in that area and had been responsible for dealing with the formalities surrounding the deaths and other jobs such as helping the hunting parties. During this time, the tiger supposedly killed more than 100 people, but it was apparently very careful to avoid discovery. Only 2 bodies were ever found. During his first attempt, Ismail had a direct confrontation with the tiger and was almost killed. He later called Kenneth Anderson, who returned and killed the tiger. The tiger predominantly killed villagers who slept outside their huts. Our final terrifying tiger tale is of Tara of the Dudhwa National Park. While the Sundarbans are particularly well known for tiger attacks, Dudhwa National Park also had several man-eaters in the late 1970s. The first death was on March 2nd, 1978, closely followed by 3 further kills. The population demanded action from the authorities, wanting the man-eater shot or poisoned, but the killings continued, each one making headlines. Officials soon started to believe that the likely culprit was a tigress named Tara. Conservationist Billy Arjan Singh had taken the British-born cat from Tigress Zoo and raised her in India with the goal of releasing her back into the wild. His experiments had also been carried out on leopards with some success. Experts felt Tara would not have the required skills and correct hunting techniques to survive in the wild, and controversy surrounded the project. She also associated men with providing food and comfort, which increased the likelihood that she would approach villages. The officials later became convinced that Tara had taken to easier prey and had become a man-eater. A total of 24 people were killed before Tara was shot. Singh also joined in the hunt with the intent of identifying the man-eater, but firm confirmation of the identity of the tiger was never found. The debate over her identity has continued in the years since the attacks. Singh's supporters continue to claim that the tiger was not Tara, and the conservationist has produced evidence to that effect. However, officials maintain that Tara was the culprit. Other man-eaters from Dudhwa National Park have existed, but this tiger was potentially the first captive-bred tiger to be trained and released into the wild. This controversy cast doubt on the success of Singh's rewilding project. Occasional tiger attacks still occur in the Sundarbans, but these are no higher than at any other wildlife reserve. On average, 2 villagers are killed in Ranthambore Tiger Reserve each year. These attacks generally occur during the monsoon season when the locals enter the reserve to collect grass.